about the accelerator 2, which is about PII data protection and how we can leverage that solution. Now, before moving on, right, we will have a very common and curious question: why we need AI for data quality management? Now, in this digital age, we know that data volumes are exploding heavily and making it very difficult for us. And it is also making a time-consuming process to identify and remediate data issues using our traditional methods and legacy systems. Now, second thing to use AI is like there is a strong need to effectively monitor and remediate the data with high precision and high speed. Apart from that, there is a high frequency of new data patterns. So as you know, this digital platforms are evolving. People are having different various products, and this so that's it's very difficult to figure out the trends. And after that, it is also difficult to remove those noise from our data sets. So we need something which will avoid those things impacting our business outcomes. Apart from that, if I talk right, there is a poor data quality which leads to the lots of errors in business decision making. Apart from that, it might also result in customer attrition as well. And if I talk about one business use case, let's say we are sending physical mails to our customers, and if our address related data is not clear, and if data quality is not precise, then we may result into the additional cost for sending those thousands of mails. Now let's see that key benefits of this accelerator which Mphasis has developed and how it will help the business. So this is the solution which provides a high-speed scanning of data sets. Data sets could be anything, like it can be a structured data or a non-structured data. And it also faster to identify new trends and patterns, which we have the bottleneck as we discussed here. And then there is a way to remediate this data quality as well. This accelerator will help us to drastically reduce the human interventions, because if we look at the data manually and go through it and try to remediate the quality or try to remediate the PII information from that, it takes a large amount of time. So automation is indeed needed, and this is the exact solution which these accelerators provide. Apart from that, there is a strong focus on the data quality dimensions, like data must be accurate, it should have all this completeness, and then it should be consistent enough. And then there are security and privacy dimensions as well, which we will talk about it later during the demo. This accelerator also enables continuous improvements using AI and ML. I will talk on the next slide about how it will continuously improve. And then it enables the data quality automation as well. So that business can have data-driven decisions with like heavy confidence. So this is the high-level architecture in the context of data migration. And this can be similar to any other architecture in any organization. I'm going to focus on this purple area, which is a data quality firewall. So when any documents are being scanned, we will apply our DQ engine on top of that. So this DQ engine is artificially intelligent and ML algorithms powered, and it will crawl, identify, validate the data, and also it will report all those anomalies back to the client so that we can correct it. And it should be also integrated at the workflow level so that it becomes instantaneous. This DQ engine also automatically identified various attributes, like we need to find out addresses, we need to find SSN numbers or a zip code or any identifiable information. And when DQ engines look at the data throughout the data sets, it tries to detect any outliers or any unusual patterns from those data sets. Now, if let's say business have any set of validations or attributes available readily, then it can also do the cross validations, and it could be a file based or it's a database level as well. And it can find out all those attributes which are relevant and which are not. And at the end, it will have a continuous machine learning based feedback loop, so that it can, over the time, it will become like self-intelligent, and it will be able to identify all those patterns which might not have been figured out during the uh, previous scannings. If I talk about these four main features, the first one is a data imputation recommendation. So data imputation is like when we are dealing with large data sets and we need to fill some of the gaps. Let's say there are few data where we require data must be, let's say, dollar related amount. It cannot be null. It should be either zero. And if it is not available, we need a system which can fill up as a zero. So at that time, data imputation will help and replace those values based on various algorithms which we has, like minimum and maximum, or a median level values. The second feature is a data drift. I think Apurva talked about it a little bit in the previous demo, which you have previous session, which you have seen. So what it will do, it will try to find the relationships which are changing over the period of time based on like input and output, and then it will try to detect the anomaly from all these data sets. Third thing, as I said, it's a self-learning. So it will try to recognize all those patterns which were not identified earlier, and then try to put it as an attribute, as a self-learning. And then outlier detection, which will try to find, which will not be classified as an anomaly, but it will be something which is little unusual, considering the data set which we have. These are the sample outputs, like how when we will run the data quality, it will try to give us the number of variables which we have in those observations based on the attributes which we have provided to our ML model. And if you look at this drift monitoring, it will show you how the data is compared between the previous relationship and the new relationship. And these are some of the missing values which data imputation part will take care of it. Moving on to this PII accelerator, which is our second one. So there are two aspects of it. When we deal with documentation in organization, especially financial organization, there are scanned documents, there are PDF level documents, or there are structured data, like we have a databases, and then we have like CSV, Excel file, or flat files, and that level of data. So there are two main operation which we need to perform. One is extraction. So first of all, we need to extract the data, and then we need to identify various attributes out of it. And the second is, let's say if you want to mask or separate the data, then we can apply this redaction method. So it will intelligently identify PII information for all this extracted information, and then it will apply the redaction on top of it. So there are useful cases where this can be used. So let's say we are dealing with third-party vendors and we are sending them certain documents, and we don't want to reveal some sensitive or confidential information of a client. Then what we can do, so at that time we can apply this mechanism, and it will redact the data. So escrow officer, let's say, who is a third-party officer, he can only see information required for him to perform his set of tasks. And apart from that, let's say organization have thousands of documents over the period of time, and we need to archive to have some compliance related requirements. What we can do, we can redact all those PII information and then archive it somewhere. So that way, let's say in a worst case, even the data is leaked or anything happened, our data is already redacted, so that even the information falls into bad actors' hand, they won't be able to figure out anything out of it. So these are the two use cases. And I just quickly talk about this feature, and then we will dive into the demo so that you can see the actions happening. So in this demo of PII information protection and redaction, this is AI/ML based algorithm, and it will identify PII information which can be contained in form of text, in form of documents, and it can be consist in a database as well. And once that extraction part is complete, then we will move on to the redaction part, where we will mask that information, which could be sensitive, which could be confidential. And apart from that, we can apply our own methods on top of that as well. As I said, this solution can work on structured and unstructured both data formats, and we can have a user access control as well. So for example, if any analyst is working on the data and we need to show only redacted data, he will see only those kind of information. So even if you are within the internal team and you want to hide that sensitive level information, this will be really helpful. And customized and configure part is like any business that have their own specific requirements and selective PI information reduction, then we can, this is flexible enough to be configured. And the last but not the least is scalability. So this can be used via API, and it has a capacity to accommodate like thousands of documents, and it can process it. We can also process it like directory wise. So when we are archiving, we just give a path to one source directory. It can have thousands of documents. All those will be redacted and saved into the archive. So let's see how exactly it happens behind the scenes. So I will go to the demo. And let's start with structured data first. So I have this file. Now, in this file, it has employee structure related data. So employees department and what is the gender and role, and then employee address, and then employee country. If I look at closely, I could see that these are the information which might be a PII data, and this can be a potential candidate to mask it, and we can suppress it using this tool. So let me go ahead and plug in. Now we are using AWS, so it is really fast and powerful, as we have mentioned it earlier. I will show you the architecture in the next slide after this demo. Now let's see what what was the outcome here. So these are the columns which was there, and this algorithm and our data quality engine was able to identify all those metadata related information. And based on that metadata, it has applied algorithms, and then it figured out that, okay, employee role is something related to the profession, and it is our, it could be considered as a PII. Apart from that, as I said, this address related information is also certainly a PII, and that should be masked. So let's see whether it actually worked or not. So you see here, so profession, this column is masked. So now that is not visible. And then those last two columns. So whichever mentioned here, it is classified as PII based on the this attribute. Now, as I said, right, there are two roles which we can use when using this tool. And if you want to show the redacted information, if you are an admin, then I can just click on this and I can see the information. So it will show me the original data and I can see it. But let's say if analyst is working on it, or any other role where you don't want to show that data at that time, it will only show the redacted data. This option will not be available. Now let's try something else on unstructured data part. So let me see. I have, okay, this scan document. This will be very useful, and at the same time it will be challenging, right? Because this ML has to first figure out all this text and extract the information, and then it will have to go through the redaction part. So maybe I can see full name is something, a potential candidate for PII, then date of birth is a PII candidate. So let's see what can be identified and whether it considers that fields or not. So I'll go ahead and upload under unstructured data. So let me see if this is the, great. Okay, I think I uploaded the wrong one. Okay, just a minute. I think I'm giving the PNG file. Okay, it's not picking up for some reason. Let me change it to PDF. Okay, so let's look at this example. I have a PDF as a backup plan. So here, this is like a typical statement which we have. And here also, let's say full name, address, and probably this address is a potential candidate for PII information. So let's see, at least it should work for this one. Okay, so you can see here, the system was able to identify all this text, which was our first part. And after that, it applied the redaction. So now, so URL, so sometime URL is also classified as a PII based on the algorithm understanding. That is redacted now, so it's not visible. And then if you can see here, that address is also redacted. It's completely masked and not available. So as this is a sample demo, I can just download and show it to you. But then in real life, it can work over the folders, or it can work over the APIs, and we can just mask like hundreds of documents in one shot. So this is the real-time output. So the document will be converted into this layer. Now let me try something else, which is a little bit more challenging. Okay, so medical field is a little bit more sensitive in order to classify the PI information. So this is the sample document. Obviously, name, date, this is classified. But then if we go one step further, there are some information given here. So if you see here, if this specific patient has a puncture and a wound, and then he has some drainage related issues he's facing. So that is given as a information, and this is PII in medical field. So let's see if our algorithm is capable enough to do a masking here. So let me try another and bring this PDF. Okay, so we have this information, and you can see here. So this PI, emergency department, type is address, and it will show you the confidence level as well, 99%. Phone number, definitely PI, 100% confidence. And then let's go to the fields like the different words. So this is a wound, this is knee. So these are some specific words which ML has identified to be a PII in terms of medical terminology. And you can see the confidence level 100. So that is definitely masked. I'll download so that we can do some apple to apple comparison. Okay. So you can see here, when the statement is given, the strong words or those information which can reveal the identity, those are masked here. This is very challenging in terms of doing it at this ML level, because this kind of documents are very challenging in order to rectify the this text and then information, and then it has to feed, and it has to go through this DQ engine, which we talked about it earlier. Okay, so now let's move back to the PPT and see how these actions are happening. Okay, this is a typical architecture. So we can provide the input from database or cloud storage, or any end user can manually provide, and then it will go into the server. So if we have a server-based solution, then we can definitely run it on EC2 machine, and then all the pre-processing, post-processing will happen based on the Python program on the server. And if you want to go to the route of serverless, we can use Lambda functions that also can process the same level of data, pre and post, and then it can provide the redacted documents. Once the data is available, pre-processing is happen, then there will be an API call, which will call this services Amazon Textract and Comprehend. So Textract is used to extract the information from scanned documents. So it is a Amazon inbuilt service, and it is based on machine learning, and it will try to use OCR to read all those information and then provide it to us so that it can go for further processing. And second service which we are using is Amazon Comprehend. So Amazon Comprehend is a natural language processing service in AWS, and that will help us to gain the insight from the text which is we have available and which is extracted using that other service. And based on that, we will make our decision. On top of that, as I mentioned earlier, there are custom built algorithm which Mphasis has applied on this tool. So that way, it will be flexible enough, or it can be customized enough to meet all this business requirement. And once this processing is done, as you see, either we can archive it to the S3 or we can store it into the target database, and all those logs, what data is redacted and how many document process, if any document has like errors, like OCR is not able to read some blur information or something, all those logs will be saved here on AWS CloudWatch. Okay. Now, why we need this and why we are emphasizing on this one. So there are compliance related requirements and privacy related requirements are very strict now. You are all aware of the recent GDPR and also our NY and California Privacy Acts. So protecting all those information is a cornerstone right now, and it's really like strong requirement for especially the digital economy which is upcoming. The redaction part is to comply with data privacy or regulations also, so we can provide the attributes for that. And any, let's say if you're in EU and then EU market, and then if any DSR requests are coming, at that time it will help us to address all those challenges and address those kind of issues. These are the few examples here. So this example, if you look at, right, Oxford University incurred like $150K of amount in order to review just one DSAR request. So what they had to do is they had to go through like 500,000 plus emails and other documents so that they can respond to that DSAR request. This is mainly related to GDPR. And these are the few use cases which we just saw, right? If it is a health insurance, we can do this. If it is a banking, we can redact this information. And if it is a claim letter insurance related industry, then these are the fields which can be done. Okay, and this is the same snapshots of documents which were uploaded earlier, and that's how it was redacted. Okay, so with this, I will end this session, and I will take any questions or clarifications needed.
Sanjay, in the structured data, if you remove the header, still it's going to work?
Yes, Mahendra, definitely. So if you have looked at closely, maybe if I have it, I can show you. So if you have seen that the column header was employee role, but then PII was identified as a profession. So that information is not here. And that's where the ML algorithms and that engine comes into the picture. Yeah, so that will work that way. It doesn't work by header.
Hey, Sanjay. Sunil here.
Hey, Sunil.
On the identification for PI, no, just keep that Excel sheet. In the demo, you showed only 3 columns were PI. Let's say tomorrow I want to make the gender also as a PI, right? Is there a way where I can provide it as a PI as a type, or does we always have to rely on the machine to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question, Sunil. So as I said, right, there are few attributes which we have plugged in here as a default PII information. But on top of that, there are custom models specific to this domain, as you say, right? It could be a gender, or it could be any, let's say employee ID also could be a PII for some organization, so that we can do it manually. And also there is a feature of self-learning, which I have said. So if you, let's say there is a document which is already redacted, but some of the part is not masked, you can do it manually and again feed into the system. So it will go through the continuous loop and machine will learn itself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Sanjay, couple of questions on the chat window. Does it work with AFS or can it work on the on-prem as well, this model?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if we need to leverage this solution over the on-prem, we might have to use the API-based route. So that way, it will just call the API, and to answer your question, right? We have this service available on Amazon Marketplace because it's a proven solution, right? So you can subscribe from here. You don't have to be on cloud. It's just the service you subscribe, and then you make a call from on-prem, and then use this PII identification mechanism. Does that answer? Please let me know if you need more details.
Yep. Anupam, does that answer your question? All right. So let me follow up on that. And moving on to the next question, is the anomaly detection logic configurable?
Yes, so it works similarly, right? There are few attributes which is already configured, but then others we can configure it as per the business requirements. So it will try to identify. So like, for example, you have a running balance related analytics going on, and anomalies is figured out based on average, but then you want to find an anomaly based on a median value. Then those things are configurable in order to find anomalies.
Okay, on that, right, the accelerator can be invoked from the existing data quality tool, and we can do that, right? And also, PII redaction accelerator be applied on the encrypted database.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. So, any other questions from the team? Okay. So let's give it 30 seconds more. Yep, looks like there are no more questions. Thanks very much, Sanjay, for taking us through the our data, and appreciate your effort and help. And thanks everyone for joining the data booth. And yeah, at 4:30 we are opening the networking launch for the data. Please join us there. There are a lot of fun activities, including the fun videos, and there are quite a few prizes to be won for everyone. So please make sure that you join the networking launch for the data booth, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you, and see you there. See you in the networking launch.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.